The lights dim, not into applause, but into confrontation across the screen. Familiar images flicker Michelle Obama, poised, polished, with that signature smile that once captivated a nation. But this time, she's not just smiling. She's mocking Donald Trump, mocking his marriage, and mocking every American who believed in him. Her words don't just target a man, they strike millions, working-class families. Every day, parents, citizens who dared to trust someone who finally fought for them. She didn't just attack Trump. She attacked the people. And from the shadow of that insult, another figure steps forward. Not a dynasty name, not a Harvard graduate, not a media darling. Karoline Leavitt, young, unscripted, unapologetic. She doesn't arrive with a legacy, she comes with fire. Not to perform, to encounter. No teleprompter, no permission, just the truth. This isn't about defending Trump. It's about protecting the Americans. Michelle Obama just dismissed as stupid. This isn't a debate anymore. It's a reckoning between those who speak from golden stages and those who've been told to sit down and shut up. And tonight, Karoline Leavitt isn't sitting, she's standing, and she's ready. Let it begin. The opening line, "You mocked my president. Now you face me." The air is thick, not with applause, but with something colder, sharper. Michelle Obama had taken the stage. Calm, smiling. Her voice was soft, measured, like a lullaby hiding a blade. She mocked him, called Donald J. Trump a pathetic loser, questioned his marriage. And she did it all on national television, polished, poised, and certain there would be no response, no reckoning. But now, she's not facing a studio audience trained to clap on cue. She's facing Karoline Leavitt. And this isn't a debate with some caricature of conservatism. This is a collision with a young woman who came from the working class, carries no famous last name, and doesn't need a teleprompter to speak truth to power. Michelle said Trump's deportation policy was cruel. Karoline doesn't flinch. She fires back. Her words don't tremble. They strike. Cruel, she says. Then what do you call your husband's open border policies, the ones that left Americans dead? What do you call the tears of angel moms, mothers who buried their children, murdered by men your administration refused to deport? The room stiffens. Michelle shifts, but Karoline doesn't stop. You say Trump divided the country, she continues, voice steady, slicing through every carefully rehearsed talking point. No, Michelle, what divides this country is hypocrisy. And tonight, you just became its loudest spokesperson. She doesn't shout. She doesn't need to. The truth doesn't need volume. It needs clarity. You think it's not an insult because you say it softly. You think because you smile while doing it. We won't hear the contempt behind your words. A pause. The silence is louder than any chant. You call Trump dangerous, Karoline asks, leaning in. Dangerous to whom? To the bureaucrats who got too comfortable, to the globalists who outsourced our jobs, to the political royalty who never thought anyone would dare question them. And then the line lands like thunder. You didn't just attack Donald Trump. You attacked 75 million Americans. The room is still, dead still. We heard you, she says. And we won't forget. There's no sugarcoating. No reaching for a middle ground. Not tonight. I'm not here to be polite. I'm here to remind you we're not afraid of you anymore. Your husband got a pass for 8 years. You won't get one tonight. Karoline's eyes don't leave the camera. She doesn't blink. So let's drop the slogans. Let's drop the spin. And let's talk about what your administration left behind. A deep breath, one heartbeat. Because I came here with no script, no spin, just one promise. Her voice tightens. I will start with the truth behind your so-called legacy. Truth versus legacy. The moment Michelle's image cracks, she crafted an image polished, protected, untouchable. Michelle Obama, the elegant first lady, the moral compass, the face of hope. But hope without truth. That's just branding. And tonight, that brand is breaking. While the camera's focused on her grace, America's backbone was breaking beneath the weight of policies dressed up as progress. She stood beside the man who added nearly 10 trillion to our national debt. She smiled on global tours while factories back home went dark. She posed for photo ops while the middle class quietly vanished under the weight of her husband's economy. And now she dares call Donald Trump a disaster. Trump brought back American energy. Trump rebuilt manufacturing. Trump delivered jobs while they delivered hashtags. She gave us slogans. He gave us work. And don't let her soft tone fool you. Michelle Obama played the politics game just like the rest of them. Only difference: better lighting, bigger book deal. You want to talk leadership? Michelle, then tell us, why did your husband send billions to Iran but couldn't lift Chicago, where your hometown kids still bleed in the streets? Tell us why black unemployment dropped to record lows under Trump, not under Barack. Why border security was called racist under Trump, but called smart diplomacy under Obama. You can't. Because when the truth walks in, legacy starts to tremble. She lived inside the White House bubble. We lived through the fallout. While Michelle was praised for her fashion, families nationwide drowned in rising premiums from her husband's failed healthcare plan. They called it progress. We called it survival. And here comes the kill shot. Barack gave the speeches. Trump delivered the results. You want to talk about legacies? Michelle, legacies aren't built on Vogue covers and book tours. They're built on what you leave behind for the forgotten. And Michelle, you left them behind. So let's stop pretending your story was never challenged. It was just protected. But that protection ends tonight. Because tonight, the facts get the mic. And behind every well-lit legacy, there's a shadow, a trail of working-class lives that paid the price for it. Facts don't cry, but victims do. The camera rolls. The set is quiet, but the tension palpable. Michelle Obama's words still hang in the air, soft, sorrowful, wrapped in polished grief. She talks about cruelty. She talks about deportation. She paints pictures of crying children, clutching backpacks, watching their parents disappear. The audience leans in. The cameras close in on her eyes, glistening. And just like that, she wins the sympathy. But while Michelle is shedding tears on daytime TV, some mothers in this country never got to cry because their children didn't get taken. They got taken away forever, murdered by criminals who should have been deported years ago. While Michelle speaks with emotion, Karoline Leavitt steps in with fire. Let's stop pretending that feelings make you right, she says. You have emotions. I have evidence. And while facts don't cry, victims do, her voice slices through the silence. You accuse Trump of tearing families apart. I've met families that can never be put back together, not because of policy, but because of blood, because of MS-13 animals who crossed our border under your husband's compassion, and because of drunk drivers with 5 deportation orders who killed Americans while ICE was told to stand down. The mood shifts. Camera flash. People are listening. Hard. You say, no human is illegal. Fine. Then answer this. Why should American lives be treated like collateral damage in your quest for moral high ground? Karoline's tone tightens. You want to humanize lawbreakers, then stand in front of the mothers burying their children and tell them their pain doesn't fit your narrative. She pauses, just for a second, and delivers the hammer blow. You cry for kids in cages. I cry for kids in coffins. Dead silence. No spin, no cushion, just the cold weight of truth. And let's be crystal clear. Border security is not racism. It's a responsibility. And if protecting Americans now offends you, then maybe the real offense is how far you've drifted from reality. The crowd is stunned. No shouting, just impact. And then the kill shot. You use tears to soften the lie. I use data to expose it. Karoline doesn't blink. You don't want a debate. You want a monologue. A performance soaked in emotion and shielded from consequence. But I'm not here to clap politely. I'm here to interrupt it loud, clear, and unapologetic. The tempo slows. Her final words cut the deepest. Because somewhere between the tears and the headlines, you forgot what still matters. Justice for the forgotten. And I will not let you rewrite the story to protect your image. while American families are left to bury the truth. The class divide. Champagne progressives versus working-class patriots. She speaks like she knows them, like she understands. Michelle Obama calmly, confidently tells the cameras she feels their pain. She speaks of empathy, of struggle, of compassion. But let's not kid ourselves. While America stood in unemployment lines, Michelle vacationed in Martha's Vineyard. While families rationed groceries, she dined on fine china. And now, perched in a multi-million-dollar estate, sipping champagne with Netflix executives, she dares to lecture working-class Americans about hardship. That's not empathy. That's performance. She calls it a connection. We call it condescension. She calls me privileged because I work in the White House. I call her elite because she never truly left it. So let's talk about privilege. Privilege is being paid $400 for a 45-minute speech about equity, while truck drivers across this country can't afford to fill their tanks. Privilege is flying private to climate summits, then telling factory workers in Ohio and Pennsylvania that they'll need to transition while she transitions from limo to spotlight to book tour. She praises progress from a podium. They pay the price for it at the pump, factory, and kitchen table. While Michelle gives keynote addresses, real Americans work double shifts. While she signs books, they wonder if they can keep their homes. And the truth, she doesn't live in their world. She doesn't even drive through it. But I do. I come from America, which doesn't get curated for Vogue. The one CNN won't show without distortion. My America is real. It's raw. It's where faith still matters, where family isn't mocked, where freedom isn't up for negotiation. And what are the things Michelle Obama laughs at when the cameras aren't rolling? We love them every day. And here's the kill shot. She speaks from a penthouse. I speak from the porch. She gave us lectures. Trump gave us jobs. And if that makes me unrefined, too direct, or too loud, then promising, I'd rather be rejected by the elites than embraced by the frauds. She wants to talk about the soul of the nation. Then maybe it's time she stepped out of the bubble and looked into the eyes of the people she forgot, not from behind a podium, not on a stage, but face to face, where the truth lives, where the applause doesn't matter, where the real America still waits, not for another speech, but for someone who finally tells it like it is. Identity politics on trial. When conservatives don't fit the box. Let's get real. The lights glow softly, the cameras pan slowly, and Michelle Obama steps into view polished, rehearsed, and ready to deliver another message about unity, identity, and empowerment. But beneath the perfect posture and velvet words, a quiet condition hides in plain sight, because she and her side love to talk about identity. Until someone with the wrong opinion dares to speak. She says she stands for women, minorities, and young people who are finding their voice, but only if they're reading from her script. The moment a woman speaks boldly and conservatively, suddenly she's a puppet. The moment a young voice dares to challenge the system, she's naive. And the moment someone of color steps off the Democrat plantation, no longer playing the part assigned to them, they're not applauded. They're labeled a problem. This isn't about diversity. It's about obedience. I was supposed to smile, nod, sit down, and clap. But I stood up. I used my voice. I refused to bend. And now I'm the threat. You preach inclusion until someone like me shows up. But that's not inclusion. That's ideological segregation, dressed in designer empathy. You say I'm betraying my generation. No, Michelle, I'm saving it. Because what you're calling progress is just control wearing a compassionate face. Let's strip away the gloss and talk about hypocrisy. If I were a liberal, standing on this stage with pink hair, shouting, "Resist," holding a TikTok slogan, you'd call me brave. You'd call me the future. But because I wear heels and carry a constitution, you call me dangerous. Because I don't chant your mantras, I'm no longer invited to the table. Here's your kill shot. I'm not here to break your system. I'm just done letting it box me in. You want to claim women's empowerment. Then learn to stomach women who won't think like you. You want to champion youth. Then stop silencing the ones who see through your performance. You want to talk about equity. Then offer a seat at the table to conservatives without demanding they sell their souls to sit there. I didn't come to be accepted. I came to be heard. And now, whether you like it or not, you must listen, race, respect, and the game of silence. She doesn't have to say it outright. Michelle Obama doesn't need to speak the words. She implies them with every breath, every headline. Every moment she frames disagreement as an attack. Every time she paints criticism of her ideas as disrespect and policy opposition as personal insult. The message is clear. Challenge me, and you're crossing a line. But I'm not playing that game. I didn't show up to attack who Michelle is. I came to dismantle what she's done. She says I don't understand her struggle. Maybe she doesn't understand mine. Because today, if a conservative woman dares to challenge a liberal icon, especially one who happens to be black, the debate doesn't stay a debate for long. Suddenly, it's labeled disrespect. It's racism. It's dangerous rhetoric. Not because of the argument, but because of the person's identity being challenged. That's not justice. That's a silencing tactic. You demand to be treated as equal, Michelle, but you expect to be immune to theft critique. That's not equality. That's entitlement. You want to wear the crown of representation, then wear it in the fire of real scrutiny, just like the rest of us do. Because respect isn't a shield. It's not something you get to hide behind when the facts don't go your way. Respect is earned. It's tested. It's sharpened in the arena of ideas. You can't retreat behind your skin when your record starts to crack. You can't call the truth offensive because it doesn't flatter your legacy. And here's the kill shot. I'm not afraid to debate you, Michelle, because I don't see your race. I see your record, and it's full of failure. You want to be beyond reproach, then don't enter the arena. Because once you step into the ring, you get hit like everyone else. And right now, I'm throwing punches you didn't think anyone was allowed to land. Truth doesn't bow. Truth doesn't blink. Truth doesn't whisper just to sound respectful, not when the stakes are this high. Because in moments like this, the absolute disrespect isn't being loud. The absolute disrespect is staying silent. Faith, power, and the price of mockery. Let's go there. Let's talk about the one thing your side pretends to respect until it threatens their control. Let's talk about faith. Because the moment I mention God, I see it. The eye roll, the smirk, the subtle chuckle under your breath. You don't say it out loud, but it's written all over your face. Like faith is just an emotional crutch for the weak. Like prayer, it is something backward, something outdated, something to be mocked behind polished smiles and closed doors. But here's your problem. You confuse power with purpose. We don't pray to feel superior. We pray to survive. You think faith is a photo op? Try praying over a sick child with no health insurance, wondering if help will come before hope runs out. Try praying in a dark trailer home with the lights shut off because the electric bill couldn't wait. Try praying while holding a folded flag in your lap, the last thing left of a son who never made it home. You live behind guarded gates, in luxury estates, surrounded by media adoration and curated praise. We live by faith, the raw kind, the kind that shows up when everything else disappears. And don't mistake our silence for surrender. We've been quiet because we believed you might listen. We've been patient because we thought maybe, just maybe, you cared. But you don't. You mock, you belittle. You say faith doesn't belong in policy, while building policies that glorify everything except God, because your side does worship, just not Him. You worship power, fame, identity, rage. And when someone like me shows up young, outspoken, grounded in scripture, you don't debate. You panic. You label me dangerous. No, Michelle, you don't think I'm dangerous because of what I say. You think I'm dangerous because I answer to someone higher than you. You think you're powerful because the media adores you. My power doesn't come from cameras. It comes from conviction. And here's your kill shot. You mock prayer, but we pray for you anyway, because that's what faith does, even when it's hated, even when it's mocked, even when it's banned from classrooms by the same people who preach tolerance on their bumper stickers and scream inclusion through clenched teeth. You preach change, but we pray for revival. And here's the truth. You can't spin faith built this country. And when your politics fail, your headlines collapse, and your slogans fall flat. It's faith that will save it. The collapse. When the Queen loses her smile. And now here it is. The moment everything shifts, the moment the crown gets heavy, the mask slips, and the Queen, once untouchable, loses her smile. Michelle Obama walked in calm, radiant, and perfectly rehearsed. Every step is calculated. Every word is framed for elegance. But now, the composure is cracking. Her voice trembles, ever so slightly. Her hands, once resting gently on the table, now clenched. Her rhythm, gone. Her control, slipping. And for the first time tonight, she's not just challenged, she's rattled. Because when you've spent a decade wrapped in applause, truth doesn't feel like conversation. It feels like an ambush. She thought this would be easy, that I'd fold, that I'd shrink under the weight of her narrative. But I didn't come here to be dazzled. I came here to expose what's behind the dazzle. And America, they're watching. And they see it now. They see that a scaffolding of script and power always supported the image built on grace. They see that the emotion was never pure. It was a tool, that the tears weren't just pain, they were policy dressed in drama. They see that her authority was never built alone. It stood atop a man's name, and tonight, piece by piece, that pedestal has been dismantled. She says Donald Trump divided the nation. No, let's be honest. Division didn't begin with him. It started when people like Michelle told the rest of us that we were too ignorant, too hateful, too backwards to matter. When disagreement became disqualification, when everyday Americans were told to sit down and be quiet, because they didn't go to the right schools, believe in the right gods, or vote for the right party. And now that those voices are rising, now that we're being heard, she calls it chaos. No, Michelle, this isn't chaos. This is accountability. And I'm not done. Because here's the kill shot. You used to own the room. Tonight, you're just surviving in it. You used to deliver speeches with poise. Tonight, you're dodging facts with fear. You used to silence critics with elegance. Tonight, you're facing a generation that doesn't need your permission to speak. The smile is gone. The calm is cracking. And the country, they're not just watching. They're waking up. So what now? Michelle, are you returning to the comfort of the narrative? The one that always protected you and shielded you from questions you didn't want to answer? Or will you do something you never expected to do on a stage like this? Will you finally face a truth that wasn't scripted and never saw coming? Aftershocks. When social media picks a side. The lights go down. The stage falls silent. But the war is just beginning out there in living rooms, on phones, behind millions of screens. And Michelle, you lost control the second America hit record. It didn't take long. Within minutes, the hashtags erupted like wildfire. Karoline crushes. Truth doesn't stutter. Michelle shaken. Not stirred. Clips flew across platforms, memes fired like missiles. A split screen everywhere. On one side, you are frozen, staring, blinking, lips pressed tight. On the other hand, eyes locked, voice unwavering, finger pointed, dropping truths like thunder. Someone captioned it. When elegance meets impact and shatters, even your allies flinched. MSNBC called it tense. CNN struggled and called it complicated. But Fox, they said it plainly. A takedown. And then, like clockwork, came the post. Trump in all caps. Karoline Leavitt just showed America how it's done. Proud, strong, unafraid. Tens of thousands of shares, millions of views, and something unexpected happened. Even swing voters, the quiet middle, asked, why does she sound more connected than Michelle ever? The answer was simple. While you spoke in echoes, I said in truth. While you leaned on elegance, I leaned into conviction. You brought scripted smiles. I brought receipts. You tried to float above the debate, but America dragged it back to the ground. And what stung the most, it wasn't the lines I delivered. It was the silence you left behind. Because in 2024, the internet remembers silence louder than speeches. And yours, Michelle, was deafening. So here's your final kill shot. You entered this moment with a legacy, but you're leaving it as a meme. You tried to control the narrative, but America chose the scene, and it wasn't the one with applause. It was the one where the Queen flinched and the new voice didn't blink. The closer. This was never about me. It was about you. Let me say this loud, clear, and without hesitation. This was never about me. It was never about the title behind my name. It wasn't about my age. And it wasn't even about Donald Trump. This moment was about you. The forgotten, the working class. The mom is praying over an empty fridge, wondering how to stretch dinner for one more night. The dad told him he's privileged while working 3 jobs and barely making rent. The college student is afraid to speak the truth in a classroom built on silence. The factory worker, the nurse, the farmer, the soldier. You've been called names, mocked, labeled, silenced. You've been pushed aside by elites who don't live like you, vote like you, or care about the life you're trying to build. But tonight, you watch someone fight back. Not with stylists, not with media handlers, not with scripted applause and legacy shields, but with something far more dangerous to their machine: truth, guts, clarity. Michelle Obama stepped on that stage with a legacy. I stepped in with reality. And America showed which one it's still hungry for, because I didn't come here to win a debate. I came here to remind this nation that your voice still matters. Your values aren't outdated. Your faith isn't funny. Your fight is not invisible. Truth doesn't need elegance. It needs courage. Legacy doesn't make you immune. It makes you accountable. And here's your final kill shot. Michelle, you spent over a decade protecting your image, and I just exposed the cracks in 30 minutes. You thought I came here to play politics? No, I came to make history. And now, as the lights dim, as the audience leans in, as social media lights up with truth, not spin, know this. You had your time, you had your moment, but tonight, America met the future, and I'm not asking for your permission to speak. I'm not waiting for your approval. I'm not here to fit in. I'm here to lead, and I'm just getting started.